Golden Blue Dude back with another video just for you. So if you're a college football fanatic, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it is a long off season and I'm here to get you through it. And also go check out our Patreon page. A lot of time and effort going into that. And I call my Patreons the shot callers because I let them call the shots with video ideas and what teams that I'll do previews and predictions for the 2022 college football season first. We also have a great website designed and created by Joey Foster. We have 8 great writers led by our head writer Michael Walker. And I can't forget about a merchandise store. A lot of great stuff over there. In fact, I bought 2 t-shirts myself, the gold one and the blue one. Today I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy odds. Who has the best odds to win the Heisman Trophy in 2022? And some of these names on this list, not surprising at all, but some of these names did surprise me, I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to go through this list and we'll see which names make sense and which names do not make sense they're on this list. We're going to start at the top with the obvious ones. There's a tie for the odds at who has the best chance of winning the Heisman. The first one is Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. Last year he was 317 for 441. That's 71.9%, threw for 4,435 yards, 44 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. He had a great year last year, and I do expect C.J. Stroud to have an even better year this year and for Ohio State to make the playoffs. Probably the national championship. If your team has success, that also helps your Heisman odds. Right up there with him. Both of these quarterbacks have 5-1 odds, by the way. Alabama quarterback Bryce Young. Last year, he was 366 for 547. That's 66.9%. Threw for 4,872 yards, 47 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. Those are very comparable stats right there. C.J. Stroud has the better completion percentage. Bryce Young has more passing yards. If it comes down to these two, this could be a very tight Heisman race. And I think both are worthy contenders. Let's keep going down on the list. Next up is former Oklahoma quarterback Caleb Williams. 15-2 odds. Now he's a quarterback for USC. Last year, 136 for 211. That's 64.5%. Threw for 1,912 yards. 41 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Dual threat quarterback, 79 carries for 442 yards, 5.6 yards a carry, and 6 touchdowns. I honestly don't think Caleb Williams did enough last year for him to be this high on the Heisman list. I'm not sure about that. I mean, yes, he's capable of having a great season, but I just didn't see enough of him last year to have him this high. Kind of reminds me of how high they had Spencer Rattler last year, and we all remember what happened with him. We're actually going to run a contest through this college football season for College Game Day. If you can get a Golden Blue Dude sign onto College Game Day, we will award you a $100 credit for the merchandise store. And yes, you can win multiple times. So if you can get the sign up on there 3 times, that's $300 towards our merchandise store. And if we have weeks to where there's multiple entries, then I'll have to look and see who has the best sign. But I'll still award those other entries for that week some smaller prizes. So make the best Golden Blue Dude sign possible and get on College Game Day. Next up on the list with 12-1 odds, Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, he transferred from Georgia Tech. Last year, 143 carries for 746 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and 4 touchdowns. He had a great year playing for a bad team. This year, he's going to be playing for Alabama. I think Alabama is a lock for the playoffs and will probably get to the national championship. That's going to help Jahmyr Gibbs and his exposure. I would actually have Jahmyr Gibbs above Caleb Williams. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have an amazing year and an excellent shot to win the Heisman. Next up on the list, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart with 18-1 odds. He transferred from USC. Last year, 117 for 189. That's 61.9%, threw for 1,353 yards, 9 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. Also, 22 carries for 43 yards. That's 2 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. I think Jackson Dart would be another player that I would say didn't do enough to earn him this high of a spot on the Heisman Watch List. Now, Ole Miss, high hopes on this young quarterback. But for him to be this high on the list, I can't think of anything that would justify him being this high on the Heisman list. Other than potential. Yes, former 5-star recruit, did have flashes of brilliance, but I'm not sure about justifying him as far as being this high on the Heisman list. Let's keep going. Next on the list, another Ohio State player, Ohio State wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba. Last year, 95 receptions for 1,606 yards and 9 touchdowns. This guy is a dynamic receiver. He will be the go-to target, and he will be a part of the offense that has multiple Heisman Trophy contenders. I would probably have him higher on this list. Next up on this list is the Florida quarterback with 22-1 odds, Anthony Richardson. Last year, 38 for 64, 59.4%, 529 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. On the ground, 51 carries for 401 yards, 7.9 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. I don't see anything that shows me he should be this high on the list. Yes, he's good with his legs, but with his arms, we have not seen enough to justify seeing him this high on the list. This doesn't make any sense at all. I think you're getting Florida fans' hopes too high too early. Let's keep going. The Texas running back Bijan Robinson with 28-1 odds. Last year, 195 carries for 1,127 yards, 5.8 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns. This guy is definitely a Heisman Trophy contender. I think he should be much higher on this list. I'd probably put him above Caleb Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jackson Dart, Najigba, so probably 3rd or 4th on the Heisman Trophy list. It's kind of a shame that they have him this low, and Texas probably won't be all that good. That's not going to do him any favors. Next up on this list, Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel with 28-1 odds. He transferred from UCF. Last year in limited action, 70 for 102, that's 68.6%, 814 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Also 24 carries for 125 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. Now, if Lincoln Riley were still at Oklahoma, I would say Dylan Gabriel has an excellent shot to win the Heisman. But now they have Brent Venables, I'm not sure. And I'm not saying he doesn't or his hopes are going to be lower because of Brent Venables. It's just a major unknown. So I'm okay with Dylan Gabriel being on this list, and I'm probably okay with where he's at. Next up is Clemson quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, also with 28-1 odds. Not going to lie, he struggled last year. 208 for 374, that's just 55.6%, 2,246 yards, 9 touchdowns, but 10 interceptions. Yikes. Dual threat quarterback, 5 carries for 308 yards, just 2.9 yards a carry, and 4 touchdowns. DJ's going to need to up his game a lot if he wants to be invited to New York for the presentation. Right now, I don't think he has a shot to win the Heisman unless he improves massively, and that offense improves massively. Clemson had a bad offense last year. Next up on the list, we go from the Clemson quarterback to the South Carolina quarterback. That's right, I'm talking about Spencer Rattler with 33-1 odds. Last year he played for Oklahoma, kind of struggled after being the Heisman favorite in the preseason. He was 140 for 187, that's 74.9%. That's actually pretty good completion percentage. Threw for 1,489 yards, 11 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions. Maybe he didn't struggle as much as we thought, or as much as Oklahoma made it out to be. Dual threat quarterback, 43 carries for 77 yards, 1.8 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. That's where he struggled, and that's why he got benched. He actually did well with his arm. I actually think Spencer Rattler should be higher on this list, maybe 4th or 5th. And watch out for South Carolina. I'm telling you right now, they are a dark horse to win the SEC East, and that would help Spencer Rattler's chances of winning the Heisman. Next up on the list, we go back to Ohio State. Running back Trayvion Henderson with 33-1 odds. Last year, 183 carries for 1,248 yards, 6.8 yards a carry, and 15 touchdowns. Why he's not higher on this list, I have no idea. But that's 3 Ohio State players that are on the Heisman Trophy contender list with decent odds. So I'd say Ohio State itself has a decent shot of having a player that's going to win the Heisman. And if Ohio State does what I think they're going to do, and that's get to the playoffs and probably get to the national championship, that makes their chances go even higher. Next up on the list is Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, also 33-1 odds. Last year, 202 for 324. That's 62.3%. Threw for 2,931 yards, 25 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. So his completion percentage needs to go up, but his interceptions were fine. And I expect Miami's defense to be much, much better. So there's not going to be as much pressure on the offense. Can Tyler Van Dyke get into the groove and make that offense explosive? He might be able to do that. I'm okay with him being on this list. And finally, the last 3 players with 40-1 odds. First up, Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Last year, he went 206 for 303. That's 68%. Threw for 2,945 yards, 31 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. That's actually really good. Also a dual threat quarterback, 166 carries for 616 yards, just 3.7 yards a carry, and 5 touchdowns. I tell you what, if Tennessee takes a major step forward this year like they're capable of, Hendon Hooker might be a real contender for the Heisman Trophy. Those are pretty good numbers. The next quarterback with 40-1 odds, the Pitt quarterback, Keaton Slovis, transferred from USC. Last year, he was 193 for 297, that's 65%, threw for 2,153 yards, 11 touchdowns, but 8 interceptions. And my Pitt subscribers said they did not like how he looked in the spring game. So Keaton Slovis might actually be in for a rough season, but he's still on the list because he does have the talent and he was a 5-star coming out of high school. But he has got to get last year out of his mind, get his feet underneath him, and have a good season. Finally, the last quarterback with 40-1 odds, the West Virginia quarterback JT Daniels, transferring from Georgia. In limited action last year, 68 for 94, that's 72.3%, threw for 722 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. Wait a minute. West Virginia has a player that's on the Heisman Watch List right now? Yes, that is correct. And that's why West Virginia is so excited to have this guy, and it was a major, major pickup. And he's going to help West Virginia bring in better transfers because spring games are starting to wrap up. We're going to see really good talent enter the transfer portal, and West Virginia will be looking to beef up that defense and possibly add another great wide receiver. I think West Virginia takes a big step forward this year, possibly a Big 12 championship contender. And if that does happen, JT Daniels definitely has a shot to get invited to New York. So immediately right out the gates, if you think about it, in the backyard brawl, we're going to have two quarterbacks that are on the Heisman Watch List. That brings another storyline into the backyard brawl. That's going to be a great game right there. Y'all let me know in the comments section which ones you think are legit and which ones you think are going to be a bust. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.